What's good, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to the Closing Beat. This is just a daily show that we do to update you on the stock markets here at Jazz Wealth. Kind of tell you a little bit about what's happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, and we'll wrap it up here for the week today. Enjoy some of the graphics and some of the comments that we have there. Recent change that we've added here for you. Let's get started, really. The Dow, you can see on the screen there, higher on the day by 136, thanks mostly to Apple and IBM. If you're following along, we'll go over that in a second. Apple, of course, hitting the $1 trillion valuation and doing even better than that today. So continuing to add to that. IBM, of course, had a really good day. That was your best performer in the Dow. The S&P added 13 points and the NASDAQ closed higher by 9, although the NASDAQ kind of waited till later in the day to play the game. And down on the bottom there, we've got a daily chart of the S&P 500 so you can see kind of how things have gone lately. Let's hop over to the charts and see what we've got going on. Okay, here's the Dow coming up on the screen. Interestingly, if you were in our candlesticks class on Tuesday, if you're one of our customers, you know that there was an 82% chance that today was going to be positive for the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500. And that's exactly what happened. So here's what we've got. We've got the Dow moving nicely in a very slow sort of summertime upward trend. Totally acceptable. And notice at the bottom that the volume is much lighter than normal. So if you see any slow or quiet days, or if you happen to be a day trader and you can't find a whole lot to do, well, then that's because the summertime volume, very common for this time of year. And I would expect that to continue at least for the next 2 weeks or so. The S&P 500 looking a little bit better. Remember, the only thing left in the way for the S&P 500 as far as what's referred to as resistance is the prior high, right up here around 28. We'll call it 2880 just to be safe. And we're making our way towards that as we speak. We got about another 40 points to go, so looking pretty good there. And then the NASDAQ, like we said, was just sort of positive today. Really just kind of slowly made its way higher. A lot of tech names were a little bit weak on the day. We'll go over those, of course. But the NASDAQ just off all-time highs, 75.30 being the all-time highs there. So pretty much one good day away from making new highs again. Looking pretty good. Here's what we got. Basically, the focus today was on comments from China. China said they would retaliate with the tariffs, $60 billion worth of goods that they would consider putting tariffs on as well, because earlier in the week, remember, Trump said we would raise the tariffs from 10% to 25% on $200 billion worth of those tariffs, and so China naturally retaliating. You had also a report come out that there was actually no engagement between the U.S. and China. That's been back and forth all week if you follow along there. Earlier in the week, it was said that they were talking behind closed doors. Now we finish off the week understanding that there's no communication at all. At least that's what the report says. And then in other news, you had the jobs reports come out today. Not as good as expected, but if you are someone who does not have a degree and you're out there looking for a job, there seems to be plenty of choices for you, especially in the trucking space. Looking around some of the different sectors today, you had oil continuing to be weak. We'll put that up on the screen there. That held back a lot of the energy names. Those were a lot of the worst performers in the S&P 500 today. Oil continues to just sort of slowly slide lower. You've got excess supply that just keeps reporting. Every Wednesday, they keep coming out saying there's more and more supply of oil. And then, of course, you got the trade tensions sort of weighing on things there as well. If we look around a little bit, bank stocks were a little bit higher today. I like how the banks are performing because if you go back a few months, bank stocks would sell off on any news. Look back over here towards March and April. Any news that was good, bad, or indifferent seemed to pull the bank stocks down. That pretty much has stopped for now. We'll use this prior high here for resistance as far as the next spot where banks really need to get over to show any form of excitement. That's about 28.50 if you follow some of the ETFs that are participating there. Gold was a tiny bit higher today. It's trying to come out of this downtrend. Here's the price of gold, the physical price of gold, or the price of physical gold, trying to bounce off the 1200 area. Look, you know, as long as these interest rates are doing what they're doing, the dollar's doing what it's doing, the trade tensions are doing what they're doing, the Chinese currency is doing what it's doing, gold is having a hard time really getting anything going. We take a look at interest rates today. Small decline in rates as here's the prices sort of moving a little bit higher, just chopping around really. I think that's going to be the case until we get towards September, which is the next Fed rate announcement, and is widely expected, by the way, that they're going to raise rates. So I just don't know why anybody would make a significant play on gold, on bonds and stuff for the moment. So that's what you got there. Let's just for fun, if you got a second today, you got a second? You want to look around a little bit? Let's look around at the different indices here, the different sectors. Worst performer today, energy, of course, with the price of oil. That's really just flopped around, right? They call that jello on a plate. If you were to put jello on a plate and move the plate just a little bit, you'd see a lot of this blah, 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 blah. Back and forth, not much going on there in the energy space. Best performer, real estate. Your REITs, they're finally picking up, doing well. Actually, one of the portfolios that we're looking to publish and getting approved, hopefully by Monday, is a real estate portfolio that we have here at Jazz Wealth, all doing well, looking good. Consumer staples, I don't know how else to say it, guys. It's been weeks and weeks that I keep pointing out consumer staples, consumer staples, consumer staples. I'm not allowed to make individual recommendations here, but I can sure get excited about a sector. Utilities also moving a little bit higher today. They broke above a recent high. That's going to be important going forward. Utilities, of course, had struggled with interest rates, but I think a lot of people understand that that's going to be a slow, steady process, and so people are willing to come into utilities probably for the dividend, I would imagine. Telecommunication stocks still trying to get above the 200-day moving average, and that's about all I have to say for the different sectors today. There we go. Let's move on to some individual stocks today. You're going to see in the news, CBS almost added 1% on the day. They came out with earnings. Everything was good, right? Earnings were good. Revenue was good. What we plan on doing for the future sounded good, but nobody cared. They all wanted to see, hey, Leslie Moonves, turns out you've been accused of some inappropriate actions. Have anything to say about that? The answer was no. He had nothing to say about it. He will not comment. He still remains the CEO. All that anybody cares about is resolution to that. If you ever look at a stock price, they always say you don't short a quiet stock, meaning you don't bet on a stock to go down when there's no news and nothing going on, because stocks just drift higher slowly over time. Well, anytime there's some kind of news or some event or pending litigation, that's a resolution that's not solved, and traders don't like that. You do not want investors to develop an opinion in the stock market. See, if everybody's just happy and the deer are drinking the water from the pond and everything's good, then stocks just move higher. As soon as there's a ripple in the pond, and it may be a gator, it may be something else, all of a sudden deer get spooked a little bit, and all of a sudden they're not as interested in that water as they were before. That's what you have with CBS. CBS would be fine if they put this all behind them. They will eventually put it behind them. But for now, because of that, investors are spooked. Some people want to bet on it going down. Some people want to buy this discount. You've got an opinion that clashes at the moment, and we have to have some resolution there to get through with that. I'm convinced they will. All right, Activision Blizzard, these are the guys that make video games. Call of Duty being the most, probably the most popular that they have. They added a few extra sponsors to the E-League, the gaming that they're doing. Incredible how much money is going into the E-League. My mom used to give me so much grief for playing the original Nintendo for hours and hours a day, which we had to do because you couldn't save it, remember? Anybody with me on the whole original Nintendo thing? You'd plug in old Super Mario Brothers after going on the thing, right? Stick it in there, wiggle it around a little bit. As soon as it was fixed just right and the game started playing, you'd play it for hours until you beat the game because you couldn't save it. Or at least back in my day, and I'm not that old, but you couldn't save it. Well, it turns out if you play video games today, you can make a boatload of money. These guys are cleaning house. Got a friend that plays video games for a living, and you know, let's just say he buys nice stuff. So pretty good for him. Anyways, Activision came out with earnings. Shares were lower today. We lost 4%. They beat on earnings, beat on revenue. Company guided for the full year. Their expectations on revenue, a little bit lower than what Wall Street was expecting, but doesn't matter. Shares are still higher by 16% on the year. You want to look at a company that doesn't make any money? This is ridiculous, right? So this is like Tesla the other day. Stock shoots higher by 20%. They don't make any money. They lose money, right? Now, maybe they turn that around, but here's GoPro. GoPro doesn't make any money. They lose money. If you invest in GoPro, you're investing in a company that has no way currently to pay you back, you know, generally speaking. So anyways, the shares were higher today, almost 18% on the day, because the company announced that they lost. They reported earnings and they're like, we lost 15 cents a share. Wall Street's like, hey, that's sweet because that was a smaller loss than we thought you would. Think about that. People are excited because the company lost less money than they thought they would lose. I don't know if that means they're turning around, they're going to start making money, but I highly, highly doubt it. I'd like to be proven wrong, to be honest with you. But anyways, earnings per share came in negative, but not as bad. Revenue came in better than expected. They still don't make any money, by the way. Big old company, got all this market share. They don't make any money. Let's move on before I say something I should. Dish Network's up 14.5% today. They beat estimates, and kind of funny here too, stock's all higher and everything. They lost less subscribers than everybody thought they would lose. Not so bad, because they still beat on earnings. They're making money, so they're okay with that. What's next? Kraft Heinz. So this used to be two separate different companies. They now are one company, Kraft Heinz. The stock was higher by 8.5%. Earnings, revenue beat, everything looked pretty good there. And supposedly they're looking into buying Campbell's Soup, although if you ask the company, they're not so sure they want to buy it. I think it's just a lot of words going back and forth so they can negotiate effectively. We'll see what happens there. SYMC, this is Symantec. These are the, the virus thing that you have on your computer there. So they came out with earnings. They beat on earnings. They guided forward very weak, and they also announced that they were cutting 8% of their workforce. And you know what I mean by that when I say they guided forward weak? Meaning they give you a heads up as to what to expect going forward. A lot of times companies will say, like Apple said the other day, going forward we expect to just kill it. We're going to be just fine. Don't worry about us. SYMC or Symantec, they said going forward we're not so excited. We've got some concerns. And so that always is going to hurt the stock. And then of course cutting your workforce, that shows that you're pretty committed to the weakness that you expect. The stock was at new lows, down 8% on the day. General Motors, where'd that finish, by the way? General Motors added 3% by the end of the day today. Still pretty weak here in the short term. They're looking for an exemption from the 25% tariff on one of their vehicles. See, you think, oh, General Motors, American made, yay. No, their SUV, what is it called? The Buick Envision, they don't make it here. They make it in China. And so if we start putting 25% tariffs on Chinese imported goods, well, that SUV is one of them and accounts for 20% of their sales here in the US. So 20% of all the money that GM makes comes from that SUV, which is made in China. And so they're asking for an exemption. How do you think that's going to go? Do you think old Trump is going to say, oh, sure, yeah, no problem, we'll leave you guys out of that? Do you think he has a history to suggest he's going to do that? No, he wants them to make the SUV here in the States. So I would imagine he's going to fight back on that. We'll see. I just kind of go by what I see, Okay, Callaway Golf, special recommendation by one of our customers to talk about this today. Shares just shot higher today. They earned 63 cents a share. Basically, they said they're killing it. Callaway Golf, where did I look this up here? When earnings came out today, basically they said everything is good, but we're killing it in the balls. The Callaway balls that we make, they're ridiculously expensive, but they compete with Titleist, of course. And they said, we're killing it there. We're gaining more market share there. That's good news if you're an investor. They were upgraded all over the place. Lots of analysts upgraded the stock today after that earnings. Sales, quarter over quarter, up 30%. Earnings per share, quarter over quarter, up 141%. I got to say, if you own the stock, you're pretty happy with that. You probably don't take much action. And you probably just hold the stock based on what happened today and what they've said going forward. So that was the stock's performance for the day. In the S&P 500, Dish Networks, we already talked about. That was your best performer. Kraft Heinz was next up in line, best performer. You had healthcare stocks today being a lot of the better performers in the S&P 500. Some retail, not really. And then on the downside, energy. Unfortunately, a lot of energy. You got a lot of energy names there. Down 3, 5, 6%, 2% down on the day. Many of the names down 2 to 2.5% on the day. So if you're an energy investor, you take the good with the bad, put them together. It's what you have. It's the facts of life, right? Is that how it goes? Okay, in the NASDAQ 100, a lot of tech names. I mentioned biotech being some of the weaker space today. Can we look at an ETF for biotech? Here's an ETF for biotech, down about 1% on the day. That's all that was, right? NASDAQ-related biotech stocks just took a little bit of a hit. In the NASDAQ, on the upside, it's a lot of the other performers, Dish Networks, of course, Kraft Heinz is in there as well, Baidu, Comcast, Packer, if you follow them, Applied Materials, eBay, Mercado Libre, American Airlines. You see where I'm going there with that. Yeah, that's about all I got today. I hope you enjoy. If there's any questions, happy to address them for you. If you're one of our customers, next week, I think we just officially, before I press the button here, I'm pretty sure we got our portfolios approved so that we can post them for you, give them as options. We've got real estate investment trust as a portfolio, we've got an income portfolio, and we have an international growth portfolio that we're putting out there. They haven't done well recently, but I know a lot of you are looking for some international exposure, and so we have those three, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, should have been just approved. If not, it should be sometime soon. So we're looking good there. Interest rates a bit more thoroughly, maybe on another video. Sure, yeah, no, that'll make sense. I usually do the interest rate videos when they raise the interest rates, just to kind of clarify what all that means, but I like it. Sure, I like that idea. That's a good one. Did one a while back. We could probably expand on that now that I got the, the whiteboard. All right, is Square breathing in and out like you mentioned about stocks in general? Let's take a look at Square. Keep in mind, I can't give you any specific advice. Square, in my opinion, by the way, did you see what Square did? I think I put it in the ticker below there. They very secretly, without telling much of anybody, they tried to sneak it through. Unfortunately, it wasn't a big news day, so it did make the headlines. They moved their cryptocurrency processing from the open market to a private brokerage firm. So what does that tell you? I'll let you make your own opinion on that. Anyways, so what you have here at the highs, look, if I zoom out on this thing, how far can I go? Can I go to a weekly time period? This thing's been killing it. Take a look at this performance on a weekly time period. Each candlestick that you see represents 1 week, okay? So obviously that looks really, that's impressive, right? There's such a thing as a stock going too far too fast. And what you have now is people looking at this going, I have a huge profit in Square. Where should I take my profit? And when you see what happened the other day with this drop over here in tech stocks, it makes a lot of people concerned that maybe now's the time to take the profit on 100% gain or whatever you have in the stock. Could be 400% depending on where you got at or got in at. So you're going to see a lot of back and forth there. This is not breathing. This is now positioning. This is people deciding that this is the end of the ride for them. And I don't mean people like me and you. I mean the funds. These are people going, all right, we've got a nice profit. Put it on the books. Put 3/4 of it on the books. Put half of it on the books, whatever it may be, and come back when things turn out a little bit more discounted. So personally, I have no recommendation to buy or sell the stock, but I think this volatility that you've seen in the last 2 weeks is just the start. Do you see all the FANG stocks hitting $1 trillion market cap? No. No, some of those have a long way to go. Amazon's next. We did a video on that. Amazon's next, but the rest of them, they've got some work to do there. I think Google is right behind it. Might be a good video idea, though. Well, anyways, it is that time. I wish you guys a great weekend. Enjoy. I'll be working all weekend. I've got a million things on a list that I want to do. If you happen to be one of our customers and you have a question, I'll probably be around and answer that question for you. Otherwise, if there's something I can do for you, you want to check us out at jazzwealth.com, that'd be great. That's what we're here for. Otherwise, help us out. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that bell notification. That'll let you know when we go live on Monday morning, Monday afternoon to do the Doe Show. Enjoy. See you guys later.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.